What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McCallister, joined again by Diane McCallister.
Hey,
we're back, baby. But we're gonna rock this one today, guys, and something that's really near and dear to our hearts, and I should be to most of your guys' as well, is our children and how having a strong masculine leader in the household and a strong submitted wife in the household will lead to having strong kids in the household and raise them up as strong men to then repeat that process. And so we're going to start this off with a story, but then we're going to dive into some really action steps, but then also why this is such important. And it really gets overlooked in the world because most people think that a masculine man, a great leader, babe, is somebody that just provides for their family. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. Mm-hmm. Yes, the Bible talks about a masculine leader as a provider for the home, mm-hmm. but that's not just financial. That's like 10% of it. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's in possibility, it's on how they love their wives and how their marriage is, all of that's providing a great marriage. It's providing so many different things for them. And finances is just a one part of that.
Yeah.
And most people miss the mark on that because they haven't been taught that themselves by their parents, and the world's trying to push against it in those other ways. So guys, today, I normally speak and lead men. That's what our whole coaching business is about, is high-level husbands and creating strong, masculine men in the household who are on fire for God and irresistible to their wives is what we do. We take believers to followers and disciples to disciple makers is the whole purpose of the McCallister family mission for us and for our kids. But today we have a family friend who is on staff at a church. That church also has a school, and so they invited me to come in and speak to the high schoolers and then the middle schoolers. And that's normally not my realm, because I'm so bold and honest and raw and real that you kind of have to water things down a little bit. But to be honest, I mean, you were there, and like I watered it. I probably took it down 15%.
For the middle schoolers.
But for the high schoolers, I kept it pretty raw and real.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were captivated. But that's not the point of this. I had so many of them come up to me after my speech and just asked me questions and were like, I'm struggling with sin and lust in my life right now, or this is something I'm struggling with in life, and how do I do this, and all these other things. They're looking for a masculine leader who speaks and talks about possibility like I do, about faith, about there's purpose for the life, how to have a deep relationship with God, how to work through your problems in life, and not by the worldly ways that are going to lead you to turmoil and ruin. But one particular kid, you could tell he was listening intently the whole time. He actually had a question in there and things like that. And then afterwards he said, I really needed this because my dad is not saved and my mom is, and my mom leads me. And right there, major red flag. My mom leads me. Mm-hmm. That's awesome about your mom. And that's not on her fault by any means. That's on the husband for not doing it. And he says, my dad always tells me, oh, it's okay, son. You can check out the chicks. Like, dude, that's what guys do.
Have fun.
Yeah, have fun. Live it up in high school. And here's this teenager telling me that this is what my dad's telling me. Mm-hmm. All the wrong stuff that a dad will tell a kid. All the stuff that will lead to a one-way street to pain, to turmoil, to a life of struggle and ruin. Mm-hmm. And I could guarantee you, if I talk to that dad's struggling. If I could really talk to him and he gave me his honest anything, that dad is struggling in life.
Absolutely.
And here he is telling me that, and it was such an eye-opener of how there needs to be a masculine man in the house. Well, here's the thing. There's a stat that says if the woman in the house mm-hmm. is the only believer, it's only 27% that the children will become believers in God. If the man is the believer in the house, it's a 75%. That's a crazy different stat. This is on us, guys, to be able to do this. We'll walk you through. I'm going to walk through some of these things. I don't want this to only be story time, babe. Right. But we've seen the same things happen in our children's lives from when I wasn't doing this to where they are now.
Absolutely. And just side note, kind of going backwards just for a minute too, is your family, your mom was the leader of that in your life. And I just kind of thought about that, and you went through struggles and stuff with that too, growing up with your dad not being the leader,
Big time.
Yeah.
I went through porn, obviously masturbation, sleeping around, drinking,
Drugs.
drugs,
Yeah.
money, all
Yeah.
these things trying to get the pleasures of the world, which never brings joy
Mm-hmm.
on that aspect. And my mom thankfully did play a part in me knowing Jesus, but I was literally on a scale of 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad did not play a part in it. Oh, my dad believes, but on like a 0.5 out of 10 of like doing anything about it and still being 100% of this world.
Yeah.
And so it ruined my life for a long time. Now I have to take accountability for my actions as soon as I become an adult. That's on me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to set your kids up for the best life, this is on you. So I'm gonna break this down for you guys. So I don't want to go too much off track, but
Yeah, sorry.
dang it, man, knock it off. So number one, what it does when you have a masculine leader as a husband and a father in the household, it sets the standard for manhood. Your sons will learn from watching you. Your daughters will learn from watching you. Because if you're setting the standard in your physical fitness, your mental strength and wisdom, your authenticity as a man, and your praise and worship of God in those areas, guess what will happen? Your daughters are going to look and say, this is a man I can follow in my house as a dad, and I'm proud of that. But secondly, this is the type of man I'm going to want to marry. I'm not going to settle for the guy who's out there and trying to woo me just to have sex with me and all these things with the ways of the world, because my dad has shown me the way and has loved on me, has allowed me to be vulnerable and real and authentic, has taught me up and raised me up in the ways of the Lord, that I'm not going to stray from that. Now, this isn't somebody being a pastor's kid and the pastor just led from this thing. There's a new wave of masculine men. It got lost here in America for a long time, of masculine men in the church. So when you're this masculine, strong, confident man who's leading with authority and grace, who's loving but firm, who 100% open and leads, your daughters will want a man like that. And secondly, your sons will want to be like this strong man.
Mm-hmm. How many husbands are out there that they want the best for their little girls, for their daughters, but they're not even showing them what the possibility is?
Yeah, they would be, you would be devastated if that's you or other men if their daughters got treated like how they treat their wives,
Oh, yeah.
or how they show up in the world for their wives.
Yeah.
But then they're going to go, but my daughter's not like my wife is terrible. She does this, this, and this. Your wife is just a reflection of you.
Yeah. And she was a little girl just like that at one time.
And she's a daughter of God.
Oh.
And so here's the thing. You would never want that for your daughter. And
Yeah.
you want this for your sons, to show them the way. You are literally, when you show them the way, you are really shorting the time frame for them to how they can be in their home and later on, so they don't have to wait till they were 39. That was when my journey really started as a masculine leader.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I was still like trying to be a spiritual leader because I was going to church and things like that, but I was missing the mark in so many ways. And so that's why I honor you guys who are listening to this right now. You're doing something about it. You're listening to this to do something about it. So I honor you. Next, it creates stability and security in your home. When there's a masculine leader in there, you feel like you're protected. But that's not just like physically, like my dad can beat up your dad, or if an intruder comes in. That's part of it. It's one of the branches. But the other is that my dad speaks the word of God and teaches me these things. My dad is emotionally stable. I know what I'm getting out of my dad. He's not coming home one day all an emotional wreck and these things are happening in the world and he's negative and his glass is half full and then him and mom are arguing. No, dad's this solid, rock solid dude who shows up with courage, authority, trust, and joy every single day. And that's who he is. And man, that feels secure when you come home. When I was a kid, I always wanted to stay the night at my friend's house all the time. And at the time but I never wanted them to stay the night at my house. It was really weird. Because now I love being in our house and I don't really want to go hang out with anybody else sometimes because I just love our home life. But when I was a kid, it was flipped and I didn't realize it. I just thought I just liked going and staying at friends' house for new experiences. Know what it was? Is that there was no stability and security in my house because my dad was an emotional wreck. You didn't know who you were going to get from hour to hour.
Well, yeah, so you didn't want your friends to be over and see something that you'd be embarrassed of, I'm sure.
Well, but plus that, I just also
wanted to be out of there.
It was so uncomfortable that I didn't want to be around that. So you used to create stability in it. Well, that's what you women want. Security. So you're not only doing that for your wife, you're doing that for your kids. It teaches discipline and work ethic. When you show that you're a man of your word and you do everything that you say and you're physically fit, you're spiritually sound, they see you in the word, they see you doing all these things, and you're explaining why, you're just not doing them and not telling them why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kids, this is why we tithe, because the Bible talks this, but really look what our money is doing. Like, we're able to help so-and-so with all of this stuff, and it's doing it and it's funding the kingdom, and you can teach them these disciplines.
There's a whole new level of understanding when you actually explain it to them and not just tell them the main title of it, whatever it is.
Right, because our kids see us work very hard. And
Right.
what's so awesome is our kids got to see the old versions of us, and now they see the new versions of us.
Yeah.
They also lived in the old city with the things that we were doing then, and then now they live in this new city with us and seeing the things that we're doing now and who we've become. They've watched us build this ministry from zero to now something massive around the world. And they've been a part of it and got a front row seat, but we explained every step of the way to them. Now, what's cool is us being a leader for them. They work for our business and they're 17 and 14. They're not 27 and 25 and they work for us because they went to college because that's what you're supposed to do. No, they're working for us. Now, if they decide to go do other things, that's fine. But we're raising them up in the way of the Lord, that now they're a part of the ministry. They're interning for a massive company here in Las Vegas who's also in ministry, and they're just doing these things of it. Guess what they're getting hit with? Vision. They know why we're doing all this stuff, and it's not just so we can get another boat and save for retirement.
No.
They know our vision, and because of that, they're fully obedient. And if we ask them to do something, they just do it. But then we're also just fun with them the whole time, and they get to enjoy the fruits of that as well, of stable parents, and also, you know, going on trips and things like that. They get to be a part of it because they see what our fruits are doing of it. We travel a decent amount for our ministry, and the kids get to go with us and watch us go out and do that. When before it wasn't happening. It shows them discipline and work ethic and all that stuff.
Yes.
So the next one would be, I've already touched on emotional strength and control. When they see that, that comes from the security. It also teaches how to lead your family spiritually, which sets your kids up for later on, which is such a huge way. You also, as the leader, you protect your family from physical and spiritual threats, right? So we talked about the physical ones. That's a small part of it, but it's the spiritual threats. Like, what you don't really see is I think as we've gotten so much deeper in our faith, the spiritual warfare is a real thing. And let me give you a quick story. 2 weeks ago, we did a high-level husband men's event out here in Las Vegas, and it was just so amazing. Like, God was moving. There was so many transformations that came out of that weekend, and I was just so humbled. And what's cool about it, it is just a ministry event. It's free for all of our clients that are in our program. They got to come out to Vegas. It wasn't like an upsell or anything like this. They got to come out and spend 3 days with us, and it was awesome. But here's the thing. Our oldest, our 17-year-old, randomly out of nowhere for 3 days was getting hit with panic attacks.
Yeah. Anxiety, kind of feeling just off.
Like intrusive thoughts and all the things out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was like, uh-oh, what's going on? So Diane went home during the middle of this event, grabbed him, brought him to the men's event, where we just happened to have somebody who randomly came that day to help lead and walk people through deliverance and passionate prayer and all of that. We pulled my 17-year-old son in a room, and one of the other guys who's there as a client came in with us. He moves in the spirit tremendously. We prayed deliverance over him. We prayed power over him and all these things, and identity. We casted out things out of him. And the next thing you know, guess what? He's been killing it since.
He hasn't had any episode since.
But what's crazy is for 3 days he was hit. Why? Because as you advance in your life, attacks will come. So God, devil knows he can't get to us. So who does he come for? Our children. But it's up to us to be spiritual warriors for them.
Yeah.
How do you do that? By having strong men in your life. But if you're strong men in your life that you think are strong men is because they have a lot of money, but yet they love to drink and check out the chicks at the bar, or when they're at dinner, they're like, check out that waitress's butt, and their Instagrams just feeds just full of half naked chicks. That's not a spiritual leader that you want doing battle with you in your home. That person ain't praying over your kids. That person has no authority because he's living in sin. So you need to be surrounding yourself by strong, masculine men. And when you become, that's hard. I know a lot of guys when they come to our program, where do I find this? Oh, when you become that man, you'll start something and you'll just attract it.
Yeah.
Every single time you'll attract it. Wild stories on that happens. You're the spiritual protector by praying over your family, and they'll see that. They'll watch the transformation, and they'll see how convicted you are in what God can do in you. Guess who else sees that? Your wife. I would love for you to touch on that, baby. Like, is that attractive to see your husband as a spiritual leader who speaks with authority, who protects your family, not only in all those other areas and provides in those areas, but especially as a spiritual warrior for him?
as as a wife, there's nothing that a husband or man can do that is sexier and the most important thing than to see your husband be a leader, a spiritual leader in the home. That's the absolute most important, most attractive thing to a wife. Absolutely, 1000% hands down.
So you're saying if like I went and got you a new bag
I
or
could care less. If you're not praying over our family, if you're not leading our family well, if you're not showing us the way that we should, what we should be doing in that way, those things don't matter. Nothing of the world matters like that.
well said on that, babe.
Don't buy me flowers. Don't buy me a bag. Don't be anything like that. Pray over our family, and we're good.
Yeah, I saw a clip on Instagram the other day, and it was these women, and they were like, it was like a clip of their podcast episode. I don't remember who it was,
Mm-hmm.
but it was so awesome. These strong women who were speaking, and they were saying, "There's nothing sexier than if I hear my husband in the other room, and he's just going to town and his with prayer, and he's just passionately pouring out to God, and he's doing
Mm-hmm.
that." They said, "I don't care if it's 3 a.m. and I was sound asleep and I got woken up to my husband just praying out to the Lord and just crying out to him. Oh man, he can get it. He can come in at that moment and he can get whatever he wants from me at that moment, and I'm gonna give it to him better than ever because I'm hearing him pour." He's like, "That's so attractive. That is what we want." But most people are like, "Oh, my wife doesn't like that." Well, she doesn't like it because you haven't been raised up and tuned your heightened your skills, honed your
Mm-hmm.
skills into that.
Yeah.
It takes a while. One of the people at the event, they were like talking about praying and all these other things and how they want to get better. And they were like, "Oh man, it was cool. I watched somebody the other day and they're praying like Tommy prays." And I said, "Guys, don't say that. You guys can pray just as good as me." I'm like, don't think that I'm just on this pedestal, because guess what? I was a terrible prayer. Terrible. But because I pray over so many people, my family daily, and so many other people daily, that I've honed my skills. And because of that, my wife's like, "Yo, he's moving in the spirit."
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't hone my skills, I'm going to be clumsily doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's way better than nothing,
Absolutely.
but it's definitely more attractive when they see you like great at it.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to practice it daily, multiple times. You do that multiple times daily with like a coworker, somebody, your children, your wife, whoever, strangers. Guess what? You will hone that so good. By the end of the year, you'll have prayed over somebody 500 times. You'll be a savage at it. But right now, how many times are you praying over somebody? 2 times a year? So yeah, no wonder you're not very good at it. But don't beat yourself up. Just start doing it. I don't care if you're, well, that's not my thing. No, that's an identity issue. It is your thing. It's everybody's thing,
Yeah.
because that's biblical. We're all supposed to be prayer warriors. Now, are some people going to be able to deliver and cast out demons better? Are some people going to prophesy better? Do some people speak in tongues? Yes. But every single person is equipped with the power of prayer, and it's for everyone, because that's how we communicate with God. So he's not going to be like, "Well, that's only for Tommy." No, that's for you as well. So that's the next one. It teaches your son how to lead, not just exist. Most kids are just going through to exist, and then they're going to mirror us working and all these other things. No, it shows your kids on what this actually matters.
Most adults are just existing.
Most are.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever seen that meme that says, God, I'm going to probably butcher this, but most people die at the age of 35, but don't go into the grave until they're 75.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're already dead. And that's where I was hammering on the kids today at the school of like, God has a purpose for your life. Don't worry about all this other BS. You know what you need to focus on? Being in community, being vulnerable, being in the Word of God, and being your authentic self. Do that and good things happen. But it needs to be daily on all of that. So you teach your kids this, then they're not going to be swayed by the things of this world. Romans 12:2, do not conform to the patterns of this world. Then you will actually be doing all of that stuff, like the right things that matter from a young age, rather than them having to figure it out like so many men who come into our program around 35 to 45. Trying to figure it out then. Figure it out when you're 15, 5, 17, whatever. Teach them that, and you are saving them a life of turmoil, But then also now they're going to create so many disciples, and your grandkids are going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
watch the same thing happen. If not, they're going to get with some floozy. They're going to have some kids in and out of wedlock, all this other stuff. And now they set them up, and it's like all this turmoil comes their way.
Mm-hmm.
Set them up in the ways of the Lord. As for me and my house, we serve the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing we care about in our house. That's the only thing we care about.
And I think so many people too, they think, oh, well, my kids are, they turn 18 years old, they're not my responsibility anymore. Well, like they've always been your responsibility, because whoever they're going to pour out onto next, or whatever they're going to bring to the next person down, that comes from you.
100%.
So if you're not leading your kids well, they're not going to lead their kids well. They're not going to lead anybody else in their family, or anybody else in their circle. They're not leading them well. Look how much impact you can have if you're actually leading your kids well, your family well. That's just going to trickle down into so many other people over time.
So well said, baby.
Generations.
How many people come into our program? I would say it's 9 out of 10 that say, man, I just wish I was taught this stuff. I was never shown this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you were supposed to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start doing it, and voila, their marriages are killing it. Right. But they just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just the same way you probably don't know, why is our mission to put out content, to have coaching programs, to go into churches, to go in anywhere and minister and show this masculine way of a leader. But it's on you, because I can't reach everybody, but together we can.
Yeah.
And imagine if we all just reached 4 people and raised up 4 masculine men.
Ooh.
This world will change in the matter of a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it takes every one of us. It's on you, but it starts in your house. If every person just controlled their house, this world would change. You can look at the stats when a house doesn't have a male leader. Crime rate goes up, suicide goes up, drug rate goes up, pregnancy goes up outside of wedlock. Like all these things go up because they don't have a masculine leader in the house. Mm-hmm. It starts with that. That's why the Bible so hammers down on the man as the head of the house, because without it, the world's going to say, well, the women's equal and she can be the leader too. And it's a 50-50 partnership and all these other things. Okay, cool. Remove the man and figure out how that goes. Remove the woman, and I guarantee it'll go a lot better than if the man's removed. Mm-hmm. Wives are amazing, but there needs to be stability and structure and raised up in the men. It starts with that.
Yes. She
completes all those other aspects and does an amazing job. But if she had to raise the kids from their own by herself, it'd be a completely different dynamic. If I had to raise the kids just by myself without her, would it be as good what it is now? No. But would it be better than if it was just her? Yes. And it's a hard thing to say and people to hear. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Because how did you become who you became today, babe?
You.
By a masculine man.
Yeah.
Right? And exactly. I watch it happen with all the people in our program. Masculine men. Mm-hmm. Now wives are having these radical changes. You were just talking about it by somebody like this. I was like, dude, get a testimonial from him. This guy is amazing, but he was kind of somewhat docile, and his wife was closed off, distant, barely talked to him. They had raised their kids, had moved out of the house, all these other things, and he's a business owner, and he's still home, and he's like in the church, but he's just not happening. Oh, well, what happened when he finally became that leader of the house? Oh, sex is through the roof now. Their transformation's killing it. She's like blowing up. She's healing in her own ways, like all these things. But it starts with us, guys. We're the ones to do it. So, and then the last thing is it just shapes the generations through the legacy. That's what we're supposed to do, is leave an inheritance to our kids' kids. Is that financial? Sure, that is as well. But it's mainly a spiritual legacy, because finances will ruin somebody's life if they don't have the spiritual, the structure behind it.
Absolutely.
And so lead, do these things, implement them, and make them happen. But it's cool is you can do this. You just got to start it with yourself and be this man. It's so worth it, guys. I promise you. I feel confident in who I am because I became that some person. The only regrets I have in my life was being a crappy dad for so many years. I didn't beat or yell at my kids. I was just a passive, docile man, which then created a passive, docile woman. And that's what it was. So anyways, guys, if you enjoy this, please rate it 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And then if you're interested in coaching, click the link below. If not, keep listening to this and getting hit. So we love you guys. Have a great day. God bless y'all. Y'all got this.
Bye.